Hello there and welcome to Eye on the Money, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. Now, building wealth is a topic that can spark debates, promote quirky get-rich-quick schemes, or even drive people to pursue transactions that they might otherwise never have considered. But while the basic steps to building wealth are simple to understand, they are much more difficult to follow. Today on the show, joining me to help us understand the concept of wealth generation and how you can accumulate wealth is financial literacy advocate and entrepreneurship consultant, Sheila Mboga. Sheila, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here.
Brilliant. I'm so excited to have you to talk about wealth and accumulating wealth because I don't know a single person who doesn't want to be wealthy. Now, just to get into the conversation of the day, this concept of wealth, I mean, people talk about, people talk about, I want to be wealthy. You know, once in a while, you'll hear people talk about, I want to be rich. What's the difference? I mean, this concept of wealth, help us demystify it. What's the difference between being wealthy? What's the difference between being rich? If at all there's a difference even.
Thank you very much for the great question. Wealth is the ability to live on your own terms and have financial freedom. Now, when it comes to the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich, simply put, is having lots of money or earning higher income, but you do not have financial freedom. On the other hand, being wealthy means you have attained financial freedom and you have time to do the things that you love. You can wake up and say, I'm not working today, and still your lifestyle will remain the same. But when it comes to being rich, you have to constantly furnish your lifestyle by either working, taking a debt, or just selling something. So being rich, you have lots of money, but being wealthy, you have financial freedom and time.
And Sheila, I feel like you've really done a brilliant job in explaining that for us, because with your definition of what wealth is, then I feel like a lot of the people out there who we usually encounter that we think are wealthy are actually rich, because if actually being wealthy is being able to live on your own terms, sustain whatever lifestyle you want, then a lot of people really fall in the rich category as opposed to wealth. However, just to dwell on what you've said, being rich vis-a-vis being wealthy, and also because it has to get you to a point where you live on your own terms and really you're just comfortable in whatever you're doing. Being wealthy, is it something that can really happen overnight? Is it something that you can really put a timeline onto? And what sort of practices or habits that someone have to have in place to get them on that path of living a life of complete satisfaction and just living on their own terms, really?
Absolutely. Building wealth is a crock pot and not a microwave. So it takes time. It takes time to build wealth, and it takes discipline and consistency in practicing certain money habits. For example, if someone won a jackpot of 5 million, we cannot say they are wealthy, but we can say they are rich because they have a lot of money at that time. But after some time, you might find they, within a short period of time, if they do not adhere to the money principles, they go back to being broke. So building wealth takes time, and it's not an overnight thing. That's just something we need to get in mind. And there are some habits that you need to put in place for you to actually be wealthy. Number one is you need to have the right wealth mindset. At Financial Wellness Center, we always encourage our clients and everyone out here that wealth is a mindset before the assets. So if you do have a wrong mindset towards money, no matter how much money you're given, it will leave you. Because money actually is an energy. before it's actually a tangible material to touch on. So you have to work on your mindset first. And then the second thing, you need to plan and set your goals. Many people plan, but they don't set goals. So they end up doing things, but they don't, a goal must have a timeline. We talk about SMART goals. You must have a timeline. Now, when you plan, once you achieve that goal, it moves you to the next one. Then the next thing you need to have is a budget and ensure you are debt-free. The journey to building wealth is easy when you have a budget, because a budget is a roadmap to your financial journey. It guides you. Just like the way we have Google Map to guide you when you're going somewhere, a budget guides you on your financial journey. Then you need to try as much as possible, be debt-free or pay your debt on time, and then have an emergency fund as much as possible. Now, an emergency fund is a fund that can cater for your expenses for at least 3 to 6 months. And then the final thing or practice you need to put in place is at least save 10 to 15% of your income consistently. Some people will save today, then the next time they save is 6 months later, which is not good. You need to consistently save at least 10 to 15%. One way to be consistent with saving is automating your savings. And then after you save, because saving is a means to an end, we don't stop there. You now invest as soon as possible and as much as possible. Why do I say as soon as possible? Some people say, I will save when I reach 30, or I will save when I reach 40. They're saying life starts at 40, but you need to start saving and investing as soon as possible and as much as you can. Now, there is no specific figure of investing, but I always say ensure at least 30% of whatever you are earning is channeled into investing.
Now,
that way you are able to be on a journey on building wealth.
No, please carry on.
As I was saying, once you are able to save and invest as much as you can, we can say that you are now in a journey of building your wealth. Yes.
So Sheila, from what you've said, it's obviously very important, even as you get onto this journey of attaining wealth, or should I say accumulating wealth, the fundamentals of good money management obviously have to be in place. And you've even brought to the fore the fact that, to achieve this, you have to make sure that the bare minimum is in place, which could be having the right wealth mindset, making sure you're debt free. But to someone out there, this may sound a bit crazy they'll say, how can I be debt free? I'm barely managing with my money. So my question then is, for someone to attain wealth, what sort of relationship are we talking about that they should have with money? Does it call for stinginess? Does it call for just suffering and saying, you know what, in my early years, let me suffer, let me put that emergency fund in place, let me have a budget, let me put my savings, let me not enjoy, so that maybe later on at 60 years old, I'm very wealthy and I just have all this money to enjoy. So again, what sort of relationship are we talking about? And do you really, really have to take drastic measures that almost deprive yourself of things now, but looking forward into the future for better things?
Growing wealth is being frugal and living within your means. That is the key to growing wealth. Now, there's a difference between frugality and stinginess. Now, when an individual is stingy, he or she has the money, but doesn't want to spend on himself or others due to fear that the money will run out. Such a person will say that one is stingy. But a frugal person is someone who has taken the time to understand how money works and is careful on how you handle money. So frugality is more of, I am well equipped, I understand money, and I know that money is a tool that can help me or hurt me. So once I have the idea that money is a tool, it can help or hurt me, I'm gonna be careful around it. I'll not be stingy, but I will do things within my means. I'm not pressuring myself. I'm not depriving myself. I am being satisfied with what I'm doing, but I am understanding how it works. Yes.
So Sheila, now I really want us to discuss something that often we'll hear various perceptions on, and that's employment versus entrepreneurship. Depending on who you're talking to, you'll hear people say, oh, you know, I don't encourage employment. You can never really get rich when it comes to employment because you're making money for another person. And then there are other people who will tell you, like, I mean, if you're not built for entrepreneurship, it's really a very lonely journey. It takes so much out of you. So still on that conversation of creating wealth, what would you say is, what should I say, simpler or is a more sure path to attaining wealth? Is it, you know, that job that guarantees you a constant income stream, or is it your business that you're going to pour everything into to make sure it works for you? So employment versus entrepreneurship, who has a better chance of, you know, fully getting onto that path of attaining wealth?
Actually, both of them have a chance to attain wealth because if you remember, I said becoming wealthy is more of attaining financial freedom and time. And this is dependent on you adhering to money principles. So, for example, if you are employed and you focus on creating passive income through various investment tools, within a short time, you know, you have a continuous flow of income from employment and you're channeling it to investment. So at some point, this investment is going to give you return on investment and you'll be able to you are building wealth actually, as well as the person who is an entrepreneur. He or she, you could be an entrepreneur, but you may never get wealthy. Trust me. There are people who are entrepreneurs and they will work all their life. They don't have financial freedom and they don't have time. So building wealth is more of me making money work for me. And making money work for you is does not depend on whether you are employed or not, or entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much for that feedback,
It's
Sheila. I
more
believe
of how are you investing this money so that it can.
Sorry, I seem to have cut you off there. I apologize. I don't know if you have everything else.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I'm sorry about that. Sheila, I'm going to take a very quick break at this point, but we'll be right back to talk a lot more about attaining wealth. And remember, if you're watching from home, you can also be a part of this conversation by sending your feedback to our social media handles at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll be right back.